Hello, welcome to another edition of Chris Speaks. I'm your host, Chris Thompson. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Alright, so what do we have for our show today? So our show today, I'm going to be talking about how freedoms in this country are being eroded, especially in the Supreme Court, but also how our freedom of speech is being eroded, and be it our freedom to protest or how they're censoring Google so you can't find certain things. It's done on purpose to control the access of information about the war. Not our war, the war, it's not a war, it's a slaughter in Israel. But the first thing first is, okay, so way back, a few years ago back, and it's because of this Supreme Court that was put together, orchestrated by the Republicans to hold back a Obama appointee, and then later on to appoint someone to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg when her body was still freaking warm. So now we got the Republican wet dream of a Supreme Court where they a few years ago took away federal protections for abortion. And how has that worked out so far? Well, let's see how that worked out. That's working out by these states now making horrible abortion laws. And you got states like the state of Texas where they're literally trying to make it a crime, like basically punishable by death, but it's not for having an abortion. And we're talking about going outside of a state for abortion or getting an abortion pill, which is not illegal to get through the mail. So what they're doing is, if you try to get the pill or you try to go somewhere else for an abortion, they're going to execute you. Like, how is that? That's insane. And then now the Supreme Court has legalized like actual bribes. We're not talking about like campaign donations. We're talking about people. This guy was actually convicted, this politician, for taking a bribe, and the Supreme Court said, no, you can take actual bribes. So I could bribe a politician with $1 million and have him do something for me. Like just that, not being part of not for a campaign donation or anything like that. So we got that, and we got how they're basically trying to make it illegal to be homeless. So the Supreme Court has upheld a decision, I don't know what state it was in, where they basically, if you sleep outside, they have a right to arrest you. So first of all, there's not enough room in the shelters for the homeless people. So of course they're going to have to sleep outside. So now you're going to put them in jail? Well, I mean, in some cases that's better than sleeping outside for them. I've heard it where they call it 3 hots and a cot. I mean, they don't want to be locked up, but I mean, they don't want to sleep outside either. But this is what we're doing. Instead of dealing with the homeless problem, as in finding out ways to make it so there's less homeless people by helping them get up off their feet or giving them somewhere to sleep, we're making it illegal for them to sleep. So what? I mean, you're going to basically, it's ridiculous. How are you going to do that? You're going to make being homeless a crime? How about deal with the fact that this is all caused by greedy corporations and a government that cares not about doing anything about it, but sees something as a problem. Well, it's a problem. The problem is called sorry, I got a cough. The problem is called not giving a shit. The problem is called capitalism. In order for a small amount of people to have everything, a good chunk of people must have nothing. And we can't even, our politicians are just completely against us. It doesn't matter the good cop, bad cops, the two-party system of the Republicans and Democrats, where they're really both against us, but one acts like they care about us and the other one acts like an asshole, because that's just how the system is set up. And it's set up to where it's almost impossible for an independent to be able to get on the ballots in every state, and they don't even get to go on the debates. So they're keeping it the way it is because they don't want things to change, because they like having their empire and they don't give a damn about the American people. And here's another thing, this is another thing about what they're doing with these protests against what's going on in Gaza, is the news is lying and saying that it's anti-Semitic and this and that. And although, like, in some protests, not that many, you'll have people chanting some things that are not appropriate, but they're not really anti-Semitic. You'll have, like, there was this one protest, I think in New York, and there was like one guy who was flying Hamas and Hezbollah flag, one dude, and they said, well, they're flying Hezbollah and Hamas flags, making it seem like it was a lot of people doing it. It was one guy. And it's like, I saw this other protest was also in New York. It was they were trying to confront Genocide Joe Biden, and basically there was one thing where they were saying something like, Hezbollah, we love you and we love your rockets too. Don't say that. I mean, it's not anti-Semitic but it's not appropriate. No. We don't want, see, anything, a big escalation between Israel and Hezbollah, it's just going to get more innocent people killed on both sides, and we don't want that. We just want Israel to stop what they're doing. Give the goddamn people their 2 little chunks of land they want and leave them the fuck alone. But that's not the issue right now here. What my issue is how the police state is freaking trying to they basically, the police come and they beat them up, or the pro-Israel people come and beat them up, and like we've seen in LA, the cops just watch them do it. And it's just the whole way they're framing this, the whole way the media is framing this, which is unjustified. It's like when in New York, when they were protesting outside of the display at the museum for October 7th, and they're like, it's terrible, it's a memorial. It's not a memorial. The whole reason for doing that is not to memorialize the people. It's it's propaganda to try to get the American people on board with what Israel is doing, and what Israel is doing is wrong. And, October 7th sucked and it was bad, but you got to realize that Israel killed a lot of its own people, and in a lot of cases they did it on purpose, so they wouldn't take hostages, because they don't want to have to release the people that they have behind bars for no damn reason, the Palestinian people, a lot of them children that they just captured because they like to put them in their concentration camps and torture them. So that's a part of the situation, and at this point, I'm sorry. It was something bad, and they shouldn't have killed innocent people, but I don't feel bad for them killing the soldiers. Why not? They're oppressors. Now, the problem is when they hurt innocent people, and just because they did hurt innocent people doesn't mean Israel has the right to go and do that. These are people, yes, the Hamas is terrorists, but when people are that oppressed, that's when terrorist groups happen. You've got to realize these people have been oppressed for so damn long, and going back before the state of Israel, but Israel has just been taking their land and bombing them and killing them, and the West has just turned a blind eye to it. They turned a blind eye to it, and now suddenly, now they're trying to act like they care. Now the ICC and the United Nations is acting like they give a shit. But what are they doing? They're doing symbolic things, but what are they doing to actually stop it? And What are they doing? I mean, okay, I'm kind of getting up there. Like, I'm trying to keep more on the freedom, but our right to protest is being attacked. The right to address your country for its grievances is being attacked, and it's being attacked not just by the system, but by the news media. It's like they're trying to make it seem like that protest in Israel in front of that synagogue, like they were protesting when it was a religious ceremony. No, they were protesting that because it was an auction, for an illegal auction, to auction off Palestinian land to Americans to go there and live on it, to help people, Americans go help oppress the Palestinians some more. And instead of them admitting that, they tried to act like it wasn't. I am glad that the news did. There were quite a few news outlets that showed the violence of the pro-Israel people against the pro-Palestinian protesters, and the reporters. The media was being attacked, and the police just sat there and watched it. They just sat there and watched it. And this is what's going on. Our country doesn't give a fuck about us. Our politicians don't care about us. Our police, who are fellow working class, don't give a fuck about us, because they're not there for us. They're not there to protect us. They're there to protect the rich, to protect the powerful, to protect the status quo. And they don't care that they're betraying their own class. I mean, we're working class. They don't get paid that much. So why don't they do what they claim they're there to do and protect people, instead of beating the shit out of protesters who are just they're just there to exercise their First Amendment rights? Well, and that's the whole thing. You start to realize that once you try to use your First Amendment rights, that you really don't have them. You have the right to get a gun because, yeah, they want poor people shooting each other, so they have less poor people to deal with. And that's the fact. And that's a fact, and that's the truth. The police are not there for us. They're security guards for the rich and powerful. They're there to beat up people, and let's not completely blame the police, because when we're talking about the protests on campuses, they're the ones who call the police. They're the ones who call the NYPD to come beat the shit out of people because how dare they camp out on the lawn and protest? Well, they have every right to do that. It's like, what they didn't like, see, if they would have been back where no one was there that could see them, then they have no problem. It's not the lawn they give a crap about. All they care about, you kids get off our lawn. Nah, they just don't want the protest, and they don't want the embarrassment of these kids daring to tell them that they shouldn't invest in companies that are helping the United States send bombs over to Israel so they can drop them on toddlers. They're going after our essential rights, our rights to protest. And then you got idiots like Bill Maher, an uneducated freaking comedian, saying that people that go to Harvard and Yale and Columbia University are stupid. Really? They're stupid? Actually, they're pretty damn smart. They're smarter than you, Bill Maher. They can see genocide and see that it's wrong, but you can't see through it because you hate Muslims so much. What happened to the old Bill Maher? What happened to the real Bill Maher? The Bill Maher that got canned at ABC because he called George Bush a coward. That guy's just so full of hate that he's calling people stupid when he's not that fucking smart. I'm smarter than Bill Maher. This guy's a dumbass. He calls himself a liberal, but he's a Republican, man. He's all for conservative values. He's as much as a liberal as James Carville, that guy's an ass too. I mean, we got people bad-mouthing these protesters that have the balls to do it. They're not some coward sitting behind a camera and a microphone. I'm not talking about myself. Hey man, I'd be out there with the protesters if I could, but I don't think there's any protests nearby, and I have certain health conditions that keep me from being somewhere where I have no access to the bathroom, which I know you don't want to hear that, but hey, I'm old. Sometimes you have trouble peeing. Sometimes you have to pee a lot. So, like, and I don't think I could get out in that heat anymore, especially nowadays. It's hot. It's Texas, and it's freaking hot, man. To all my friends back there in California, man, you know, it gets hot out in California, but that dry desert heat's wonderful. This humidity out here, whew, nasty, man. I'm serious. But I think the whole country's having like early hot temperatures out there. Like, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. And I just know that, man. Okay, I don't know. Let's see. I'm kind of lost here. Okay, I was talking about protests and our rights, and it's like, it just seems like everyone thinks they have rights until they try to exercise those rights. And the First Amendment doesn't say you have the freedom of speech as long as it's popular. They don't say you have the freedom of press as long as you're saying the right thing. They don't say you have the right to protest as long as it doesn't piss anybody off. No, it says that they cannot take your freedom to protest even if it's not popular. And the thing is actually it's when it's popular that they have the biggest problem. The reason they're so against these protests is because they're making momentum. They're not just fading away. They're not stopping at the college campuses. I was watching some news thing on YouTube. I don't remember who it was by, but they were basically saying, it was maybe a month or two ago, but I don't think it's changed, that they were saying they were having protests in New York like almost every day. Oh, and then there were groups of people, some of them just pro-Palestinian, but a lot of them pro-Palestinian and queer, and I'm not saying that because they call themselves queer. I don't know if I'm supposed to use that, but anyways, the gay people, the LGBTs, that they weren't gonna go on the regular Pride March because unfortunately some of the people that are donating to the Pride March are companies that are associated with Israel, donating money to Israel somehow, and these were a group of LGBT people and allies, and probably just people that want to protest against what's going on in Afghanistan. I think it was called their okay, so it's Pride, right? So they're calling it "There's No Pride in Genocide," and so the people, gay people, lesbians, whatever, the LGBT people, they're out there and they're basically saying, okay, we're not going with the regular Pride Parade because we're against what the supporters of, some of the supporters of the parade are investing in stuff in Israel. So that's really cool, man. That will really help. We really need the LGBT community behind this. We need to get the Muslims, the Jews, and the Christians out there and the atheists. I mean, you don't have to be a religion to have morality and say what's going on in Israel is wrong. I mean, and what's going on in Gaza by Israel is wrong. And see, I mean, it's just, we have the right to voice our damn opinions. It's just funny when the goddamn neo-Nazis in Charlottesville were shouting, "Jews will not replace us." Nobody was trying to beat the hell out of, the cops weren't beating the hell out of them. Nobody was trying to stop them. No one was trying to say they were anti-Semitic when they were. We had freaking Donald Trump, who was the president at the time, saying, oh, there were some wonderful people on both sides. The neo-Nazis, those guys were wonderful. Wow. And it's like nobody cared about anti-Semitism, and then suddenly people start protesting the slaughter of innocents in Gaza, the killing of people who the majority of the people are children under 10. We're talking about dropping bombs on women and children and elderly people and men who are not involved in any terrorism BS. And you ever notice that when they show the news thing, and this is them going after Hamas, and you show them, you see some guy, it's not the guy in the front, so you never see anybody shooting back. You see them shooting, you see them going into an empty room and shooting, you see them shooting at people, like innocent people. You never see the camera from the guy in the front to show the guys that are actually there, because they're lying about it. If they were there, they show it. No, they're picking out innocent people. They're not even trying to go after Hamas. They don't give a fuck. They're trying to get those people to either leave or die. They're trying to take the rest of the land over because they weren't happy with having 90% of the land. So they need to. So they used October 7th as an excuse. You know, they knew ahead of time that it was going to happen, right? And the main thing excuse is, well, we didn't think they'd actually do it. Well, so why don't you punish yourselves instead of punishing innocent people in Palestine, because you were too arrogant to think maybe we should prepare for this, and maybe we should tell them not to have the rave there on that day. How about that? That would have been a better idea. Well, and the thing is that this is just me chiming in. I don't think it was arrogance. I don't think it was, oh, well, they won't do anything. I think it was, we're not going to do anything, so we can have an excuse to finally do what we wanted to do for the last 75, 80 years, is completely get rid of the people that we just see as a thorn in our side, and that they've got, we only have like 75, 85% of the land, and we want the rest. And they don't want to share it with the Palestinians. They never had any intention. Okay, so I'm going back on that. But even here, we're seeing our rights being eroded. We're seeing a presidential debate where two people are they're bragging about how much they would support dropping bombs on toddlers. Okay, there was this cartoon, and I saw it on X. It's, I believe, South Park. It looks like South Park art, and it's their humor. But I only saw it on X. I go to look for it on YouTube, on Google. You can't find it anywhere. But okay, it's very inappropriate because it's South Park. So you got them there, and they're saying how they're gonna support Israel, and they have Netanyahu there, and so you got what's his name? Biden's like, Bibi, I'd totally suck your dick. And then you have Trump saying, no, Bibi, you don't want him to suck your dick. He won't finish the job. And then basically they do suck his dick, which is nasty. But it's funny because when I saw, like, I didn't watch the whole debate, but when I saw the part where they're just basically writing their love letters to Israel, I was like, man, they're totally sucking on Netanyahu's dick, and then the fucking South Park people go and do the damn cartoon about it. That's hilarious. But what's funny is, it's a damn cartoon. It's hilarious, and you can't even find it on the internet hardly because fucking Google is fucking a traitor to the American people. They've changed their algorithm or whatever it is, so you can't, to make it harder to find stuff that's pro-Palestinian, stuff that's anti-genocide, and it's like that's what they're doing. They're controlling the media completely. And like, if I would have heard someone say that like 10, 15 years ago, I would have said, oh, it's conspiracy theory. But no, I mean, if you go on the internet, okay, this is another thing. Social media has the most thing where you'll see actual footage of what's going on in Israel. They're not telling you, they're not showing it to you on the national news. They're not telling you about what's going on. They're trying to make it seem like it's a war when it's not a war, it's a slaughter. So, I mean, And now they're trying to control the internet. Now they're trying to come up with laws to control social media, because instead of doing the right thing and no longer sending bombs for Israel to drop on children, instead of doing the right thing, instead of doing what 90% of the American people, they say, I saw surveys, and the majority of the American people want a ceasefire, and a big chunk of those people want a complete total ceasefire, and they want a two-state or one-state solution. So start listening to the public, start listening to your voters, and stop trying to control them by controlling the narrative, by trying to make it seem like the people that are standing up for justice are just a bunch of bigots that don't like Jewish people. Because half of the people who are protesting are Jewish. I mean, one of the big groups that organized the protests at the college was Jewish Voice for Peace. There was a very wealthy Jewish family that were the ones that were funding the protests. So don't try to make it seem like the protesters hate Jewish people. No, you had some overly sensitive pro-Israel people saying, oh, we feel threatened because they don't want Israel to drop bombs on children. Yeah. So, bite me. You want to hear something anti-Semitism? It was coming from some of the students, the pro-Israel Zionist students that wrote a letter and basically claiming that the Jews that were involved in the protests weren't real Jews, and that they're just tokenizing themselves by saying murdering people goes against Jewish law. Well, I think it really does. How about the woman that I said this yesterday that basically told Hasidic Jews to go to Auschwitz? So you got this nasty anti-Semitic rhetoric coming from the pro-Israel crowd. I mean, and there's a big thing in Israel. Oh, since we're talking about Hasidic, well, there's a lot of they're not. Oh, come on. I think they're Hasidic, but they're called ultra-Orthodox. They're like beyond Hasidic Jews, and they've always had this thing since they were basically pacifists, that they didn't have to be conscripted into the army when they turned 18. Well, they're trying to change that law now. They're trying to make sure everyone's got blood on their hands, and it's going against what they believe. And there's a big protest going on about that in Israel. And you got to know, I saw this thing, there's these Israelis, and they're like completely and totally against these younger guys, younger teenagers, probably 18, 19-year-olds, that they don't want to take part in the genocide, and they're outspoken, but they're saying that they're afraid to go out to the street and protest because they've seen what's happened to people that were trying to stick up for the Palestinian people in Israel. And if you go back years and years and you read some articles and stuff, they will kill their own citizens for daring to speak out on behalf of the Palestinians. And is that a democracy? The only democracy in the Middle East. Well, for me, a democracy doesn't create a law that says Israel belongs only to the Jews and that basically they're non-Jewish citizens. We're talking about people who actually have citizenship. They don't count. It's not theirs, it's for the Jews only. Well, that's kind of racist, isn't it? I mean, well, not racist, but like prejudice, because they're not actually being Jewish isn't a race. It's a religion. And even, well, they have called it what is it, where it's not a religion but it's an ethnicity because they have their own customs and stuff. So okay, we could say it's that ethnicity, but what kind of democracy says one people is better than another group of people? That's not democracy. Democracies don't shoot their people for protesting on behalf of the Palestinian people. A democracy doesn't treat their Israeli Palestinians that have citizenship in Israel like second-class citizens. That's not a democracy. So this is what we're fighting against. We're fighting against this lie of this democracy that's so wonderful in the Middle East, but all they've done since the country became a country is murder the indigenous people. And Israelis should have the right to protest that on behalf of the Palestinian people without harm coming to them. The people in the United States and all over the world, the German people who are getting totally beat out of them by their police there, should have the right to do this without being hurt, without being abused by people that are supposed to be there to help them and keep them safe. But they're not keeping anybody safe. They're beating the crap out of them. They're knocking people's teeth out. And it's their damn universities that are calling the cops that they know are going to brutalize them because they don't want to be called out on their bullshit. And this is, we've got to fucking stand up to this shit. Keep protesting. Don't let them scare you. If they beat the crap out of you, once you get out of jail, go protest some more. And we got to keep this going. We got to show them that we're not going to be, that we are not going to be, what's the word, intimidated. That how should speaking out against something that's wrong, sticking up for what's right, do what happens to people. I mean, people totally lose their jobs. They will fire professors at college simply for saying that genocide is wrong, because it's all right. Genocide's just fine as long as it's our allies doing it. We have the right, the freedom of speech. We have the right to gather and the right to gather and petition our government for redressing grievances or something like that. I'm sorry, I don't have my copy of my Constitution and Bill of Rights and stuff handy. I don't know what happened to them. They're probably here somewhere. So I'm paraphrasing it, and I can't always remember the word. Redressing grievances. Okay, that's what it is. The freedom of press, and press that is just being the mouthpiece for the government. I mean, it's like the damn communists. Just like the Nazis when they controlled the entire media and it was just propaganda. Where is the free press? Where are our rights? Why is freedom being eroded in this country in order to aid and abet what really boils down to terrorism on a grand scale? I'm saying it. Israel is a terrorist nation. Stop fucking with people. Just leave them alone. Let them have their land. Stop cutting off the supply of food and water and fuel they need to for desalination plants, and let them live their lives. I mean, all they want is to go back to the 67 borders. All they want is Gaza and the West Bank. Is that too much to ask? I mean, truthfully, they have every right to go back to before the pre-1947 borders. It's their land. They were there first, so why do a bunch of Europeans get to migrate there and take it over? Why? Because it was part of the plan of Western imperialism. It was experiment in colonialism, and that's all it is. And the fact that our government is giving support to that country, and I was watching something with what's his name? Oh, who's the guy who does all those oh, come on, he does a lot of documentaries. Oh, I can't remember his name right now. Oh, this is the problem when you're working without a script. Michael Moore. So Michael Moore was saying, so he was like, oh yes, we should protect Israel and this and that. And I'm going to say, no, we shouldn't. No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't allow them to terrorize the Palestinian people and terrorize other countries around them and just give them weapons to do that. What for? Fuck no. We shouldn't protect them. Nobody should protect them. Nobody should allow. Somebody needs to step in there and do something about it. Somebody's going to have to literally take a military in there and basically threaten them that if they don't fucking stand down, there's going to be a war. The United States, instead of supporting Israel, should be supporting the Palestinian people and should basically, this is another thing, at least for the supplies, the only way you're going to get supplies into Palestine is by having military guard the trucks, and in any place where people are trying to stop them, well, engage them. Why are we supporting terrorism on a grand scale? Why are we supporting it? Why? Because they're there to ensure Western interests. They're there to ensure we can always keep other Arab countries in check so we can have access to their oil. They don't care about anybody. They don't care about the Israelis. They're just there to give the Western world a leg up on basically oppressing people in order to get their oil and everything else. That's what we do. We are a country that overthrows democracies and puts in tyrants in order to ensure Western interests, and claim that we're trying to defend democracy all around the world. And why are we overthrowing democracies all the time? People bitch about Iran, but guess what? In the 1950s, before the United States went in there and did a coup on their elected government and installed a dictator in there, they were a thriving democracy. But you throw in a dictator, and then they basically depended on the religious fanatics to overthrow the guy who was so bad, and now you have this basically, I don't know, it's a dictatorship. You got this dictatorship that's ran by religious fanatics, which is basically what Israel is too. It's a dictatorship that looks like a democracy, that's there to just do whatever they want and keep American interests protected. So, I mean, it's a joke. If America wants to be respected and treated like it's actually protecting democracy, then actually protect democracy. Stop trying to overthrow governments and do coups like they did. They helped back the coup to overthrow Evo Morales in Bolivia. And then there was another coup recently, because there was the interim person who was there, and then she got defeated. Finally, was it a she or a he? I don't know. I think it was a he. Whoever it was the interim president. They lost an election, and then the socialists won again, and so they had then the military tried to do a coup. How much money you want to bet the United States is behind it? I mean, they were behind the last one. If they want to elect people who are socialists, let them elect socialists. That's the whole point of democracy, is that anybody who runs can run, and if the people like them, let them be the damn president. Stop trying to overthrow people. But so going back to us, our country, our people, no one's sticking up for our rights anymore, and we're just being bombarded with this propaganda that always tells us that the people we support are wonderful, even though they drop bombs on toddlers, and that the government really cares for its people, although they're always trying to get rid of Social Security and Medicare because we can't afford it. But we can afford billions upon, like tens of billions of dollars to give bombs to foreign countries to drop on people they're oppressing. What's with that? Oh, we can afford for Congress to give themselves a raise every year. We can afford to give all of these like this free money to corporations. We have enough money to give all of this foreign aid while people are starving on our streets, and then they're not even allowed to sleep. It's illegal for homeless people to sleep unless they can get into a shelter, and there's never enough room in a shelter for every homeless person. So you're going to make speech illegal, you're going to make being homeless illegal, you're going to make it legal to bribe people, you're going to make it illegal for a woman to decide what to do with her own body, but nobody has the right to do anything else. You have a right to have a gun so everyone can shoot each other. That's just fine. But when it comes to protesting, how dare you? I mean, give me a break, man. If you really think our country, our politicians really care about us, I mean, there's some maybe, but even the ones we think care about us don't really care about us. Man, they always make all these promises to their constituents, and then they don't go through with them. Know why? Because they're bought and paid by corporations, and they have to do what their corporate masters say. This country has never been for the people. It was always for the rich people. You know who started the government in the United States? Who wrote the Constitution? A bunch of rich white men, many of which who owned slaves. So you really think they intended for us to actually be free? No, they intended rich white men to be free. And that's how it's always been, and that's how it always will be, unless we stand up and say enough is enough. And don't be afraid. Keep going out there, keep protesting, but don't wave Hamas and Hezbollah flags, and don't say crap of like, Hezbollah, we love you and we love your rockets too. No. We don't want war. We don't want anybody innocent being killed on either side. And you got to realize a lot of the Israeli people, just like a lot of people in this country, are brainwashed by all the propaganda. And you've got to realize that your average person gets their news still from TV and the newspaper. And even some of the sources online are misleading, but they're getting all this propaganda. So if they think it's okay what's going on, it's because they're not really seeing what's going on. They're not really seeing the real war. They're getting snippets every here and there that are manipulated to put out a certain point of view, and not really to show what's going on the ground there. And a lot of things, even the independent media is slowing down because they're not getting reporters in or out of Gaza, and they've totally cut the internet. They have no internet anymore, so we're not getting what we had for a long time. We're not getting as much live footage, live stream stuff because of the internet. So it's not getting out. Some of it's getting out somehow, but it's slowing it down because they're controlling it. And Israel said, "Oh well, they'll never get internet again because terrorists might use it." Oh, give me a break! You don't care about that. They just don't want the reality getting out there, and the reality is that every day they are just dropping bombs on innocent people. They're hoping that they can get the Hamas guys to basically give up their lives because They're going to kill them. If they surrender, they will kill them all. And I mean, they don't want to do that, but to try to murder innocent people to pressure a terrorist group, a terrorist group that's not even close to being as big as terrorists as Israel. But man, everything's about rights, the freedom of speech. We need to get more independent journalists out there. I mean, like, I'm not really a journalist. I have no way of getting information from Gaza or anywhere else. I just see what I see online. I see what I can see. I find what I can see, and I've seen a lot of horrible imagery, and you're killing and traumatizing children. I'm sorry. Israel's a bunch of pussies. Fucking, how about you fight someone who doesn't have a fucking rattle, douchebags? And fuck the government. If they're not gonna fucking let us protest, and they're gonna try to brainwash us with propaganda from the news, we don't need them. And what we need to do is just be louder. We just need to speak louder. We just need to have more protests. Hey man, so if you like this show, if you like the content, please click, what do they call it? Please subscribe and share it and share it and share it. And I know I'm getting like 5-10 views here and there, and I don't know how to get this out there more. But you know, if I was just here doing like stupid cat videos, I'd have like 1 billion viewers, and that's sad. That's sad that anybody who actually puts some good content out there can't get any views unless they pay for advertising. I can't pay for advertising. So the only thing you can do for me is share, and subscribe. And you know, I'll be here and trying to run a revolution from my living room. Not really. I'm actually here just sponsoring them. They're out there. The people that are out there protesting, that are getting their faces broken in and their teeth broken just because the police are attacking them for exercising their First Amendment rights. Those are the guys. Those are the brave ones. I'm sitting here in my living room talking about it. But if you want to hear me talk about it, subscribe and share it to all your friends, man. All your friends that might want to hear what I have to say. Because it's not the time to slow down. It's not the time to be quiet. It's time for everyone to stop being silent. It is not the time to be silent. What's happening is wrong, and what's happening to people who are speaking out on what's wrong is wrong. So, man, if you're out there, if you're a protester, I want you to keep protesting. I want you to keep organizing, keep getting people out there. Don't let them silence you. And I look up to you guys. You know, especially this started with college protests. You kids are freaking awesome. Keep it up, and you gotta be tough. And I know it's hard that you're trying to be nonviolent and you're getting attacked from the police and you're getting attacked from the counter-protesters, and you're being treated like you're doing something wrong, but you're not. You hear about more auctioning off stolen land, you go protest. I don't care if it's a synagogue. I don't care if it's a church. I don't care if it's, whatever. Just stand up for what's right, and don't let them tell you you're wrong, because you're not. Well, this has been another episode of Chris Speaks. I'm your host, Chris Thompson, and I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore, and you shouldn't either. So keep on marching, and I'll see you guys next time.